To create a scenario, I'm going to go ahead and break something in master 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm commenting out log bin, and like I mentioned, binary log is the lifeline for replication. So I'll try to break this on master 2. And since I made a change to my.conf, I need to restart MySQL. And while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and do the test again. So I'll be grabbing this SQL here of create table, go to my master 1, create table, show tables. Okay. And do show tables again in master 2. And what I see is the replication is working from master 1 to master 2, which is expected because whatever breaking I have done is on master 2. Now I'll do some action in master 2. So I'm going to create or insert something into the table in master 2 here. So inserting a value 1, flush privileges. Okay, so there it is. Now I'm going to run the same command in master 1 to see if the insert has taken effect, and it's not. So that explains that at this point, the replication is broken from master 2 to master 1. So this is a good time for me to go ahead and do some troubleshooting in master 1 since something is wrong with master 1. So I'm going to do show slave status G, and I'm looking at last IO error, and as you can see, something has been reported here. It says fatal error while reading binary log. Binary log is not open. So this error is pretty straightforward. It explains a lot to me. It says that, hey, something is wrong with the binary log. Go ahead and take a look, fix it. So if I go to my master 2 and do a show master status, it doesn't return a value. So that completely explains to me that binary logging has some issue. So I'm going to go ahead and fix that. My.conf. Going to remove the commenting. Oops. Restart MySQL. And then do show master status. And there it is. Now it's showing up. So I have rectified the error. But the data is still inconsistent. We know that changes in master are going to slave or master 2, but not the other way around. So I need to make the data consistent. Now there are different approaches to achieve this. The approach that I chose to do is using MySQL dump. So I'm going to use this tool to take my entire MySQL DB into a .sql file, and then SCP over to my master one and recover it. So first step I'm going to do is in my master 2, flush tables with read lock, and then this has to be run from the command line. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to move this over to my master one temp folder, 154. Oops, need to give full path. Okay, so if I do, I'm going back to my master one, making sure the file is here, and then overwrite my database using this copy. Making sure I'm running it on master one, asking to overwrite my first SQL using this file. Now, in real world production scenario, this has to be done in a very controlled fashion. This is very sensitive. Probably we'll have to make sure that all the data in master one has been moved over to master two and it's consistent, and then take a cutover point and probably take some downtime to perform this action so that no data has been lost. So I'll go ahead and unlock tables in my master 2, exit, and connect back to MySQL. And also on my master 1, I want to go ahead and restart MySQL. So once that is done, I'm going to connect back to MySQL. And then I'm on master 1. I'm going to run my select command, and I can see that the value is showing up now. So the data recovery has been successful. In fact, if I go to my master 2 and run the same command just to make sure it looks exactly the same. So data is consistent at this point. If I were to start master replication again, I would have followed the same set of steps that we did earlier on both the hosts. So replication begins fresh, and it's reading from the binary log with the very current position. With that, we have covered point number 2 here, the break test, and also the restores test. And now we can move on to the last part, which is master slave, and testing it using shell script. In order to make my current setup a master slave config, I'm going to expose, or I'm going to uncomment a couple of more params in my.conf. So I'm in master 1, and I'm going to uncomment bind address. MySQL Server listens on a single network socket for TCP/IP connections. This socket is bound to a single address, but it is possible for this address to be mapped to multiple network interfaces. The default value for this typically is 0000, in which case the server accepts TCP/IP connections on all server hosts which fall under the IP version 4 band. But for this test purpose, today I'm going to be giving IP of my host. So the server will accept TCP/IP connections only for this particular IP here. So I'm exposing this param in my master one. And since I made a change, I need to restart MySQL. And in the meantime, I'm going to go to my master 2 and open up relay log. So information that are read from binary logs of master are written here in slave, and those are written in the relay logs. So that's the significance of relay log in a host which we are calling slave. So I'm pointing it to the default path of var lib MySQL. And again, since I made a change, I'm going to restart MySQL here. So relevant config part is complete. So I'm going to go back to my master one and connect to MySQL and do flush table with read, show master status, make a note of my log bin and the position, and then go to my slave. Just want to reconnect to MySQL and do stop slave and reset slave. So reset slave is an important step at this point because it makes the slave forget its replication position in the master's binary log. And then that gives me a chance to redefine it. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Since I already made a note of these two from my master, I'm going to go and run this in my slave and tell my slave that, hey, your master is 154 with the log bin of 00011 position 120. So I'm going to copy that, make sure I'm running it on slave, enter. Then start slave, go back to master, unlock tables, exit, and connect back to MySQL. Now I want to tell my master explicitly that you are the master. So for that sake, on my master, I'm going to do similar steps. Reset slave. And then I'm going to use the same command. And notice that I'm saying master, that 154 is your master, which is the current host, and giving it its own log bin position and name. So I'm going to run this command, and this is critical in the way I have written my shell script. I'm going to be deciding a lot of things based on these setup. So one little detail I want to point out is I'm not going to start slave on this master one. In fact, if I do show slave status on my master, you can see that the slave IO state is blank, which means it's not expecting anything from any other host because it is the master. And the master host is the host itself. So whereas if I go to my slave and run the same command, it is waiting for master to send event, and its master host is 154. So with that, my master slave replication process have started. I want to do a quick test to make sure my master slave configuration is working fine. For that, I'll do select star on my master, make sure there's one value entered, and same is the case in my slave, and then do one more insert with value 2 in my master. So if I do that, making sure I'm running it in my master, and then select star, go back to my slave, and there it is. So master slave replication is working as expected. So moving on to the last part, and it is my favorite part, is using shell script to determine some of these automatically. Like it's going to say which is master, which is slave, and if it's slave, whether the replication is working and so forth. So if I go to any host, uh, I have the shell script here. I have written the script in bash, and it does quite a few things here, as you can see. Uh, it does some validations in my slave. Based on those validation, it's going to determine if the slave is or the replication is working as expected. If it's not, there is a functionality to send an email to my ID. And also I've incorporated some color change in the color of my command prompt if some error occurs. So we'll take a look at all of these. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this host. I'm not saying which host it is, but I'm going to directly run my shell script. And the first thing it's going to ask me is MySql password, and after I give it, it tells me this host, which is 154, is master, and gives me the command prompt. So that's good. But if I go back to another host and run the same command, here it says that the host 156 is slave, and then it's asking me, do you want to check replication status from master host? So two things to note. The moment it notices it's slave, it also wants to give me a chance to see if replication is working or not, and it has already identified my master host for the slave. So if I don't want to check my replication, I can hit no and just keep going. But I would like to know if my replication is working or not. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes, and there it says replication is working successfully. Slave IO state is waiting for master to send event, and current lag time is 0 seconds behind master. So no email is being sent because everything looks good, everything is working as expected. So now I want to move on and try to do some break test. And for that reason, I'm going to be commenting a couple of lines here so that my log file doesn't get generated every single time. So I'm commenting these two lines just for the break test purpose. Clear this. And okay. At this point, I want to point out a couple of params which are very critical, and a lot of decisions are based on these two: slave IO running and slave SQL running. So during my replication, at any point of time, both of these needs to be yes. Reason is slave IO running is the thread which performs reading of binary log from the master and grabbing the relevant SQL, writing it to replication log. Whereas slave SQL running goes to the replication log, takes those SQL and applies them in my slave. So a combination of yes and no or no and yes uh, means replication is not working as expected. So I want to go ahead and say, for instance, my IO running has some issue, in which case my log file would, on the run, say that it's not running or there'll be a no here. If I do that and run my shell script again, it again caught that it's a slave. It's asking me whether I want to check if replication is working, and boom. As you can see, it did two things. It says replication is not working. It also pointed out where the errors are, which it says is somewhere in slave IO running. And it also changed the color of my prompt to red so that it's more alarming and more like a warning. Now, I want to go back and revert that and say that whatever issue that was causing it is fixed, and the slave IO is doing what it's supposed to do, but the sequels are not being executed in slave, and hence this param will start showing as no. And run my script again, and there it is again. It says replication is not working, and this time it caught the fact that it's a problem with my slave SQL running, unlike here where it was the IO. Okay, so again, moving forward, I want to change it back to yes. And let's say everything is fine and replication is happening. Uh, this also registers how many seconds behind master is my slave currently running. So right now it's like best case scenario 0 seconds, but let's say because of network delay or some other problem, this is, let's say, 10 seconds behind master. So I want to see how my script reacts when I do that. Running my script again, saying yes. So everything is looking normal here, at least initially. It says replication is working successfully. Slave IO state is as expected, but the current lag time is 10 seconds behind master. And for that, it's sending out an email. I have made the rule that it needs to send an email if the lag is more than 5 seconds. So here it is, 5 seconds behind master will trigger an email. Now, unfortunately, I won't be able to demo the actual email in my inbox. The reason is this host is in a DMZ zone, and it needs to clear some firewall rules to talk to the SMTP server. So that part is not happening, but the script is ready for it if the host is able to send out email functionality. With that, we have covered all the scenarios here, including master slave and usage of shell script. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.